The cavalry's here!
From all corners of the globe. Well, I mean, two of us are in the same state, but nonetheless, this is Overwatchers. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, he's Patrick Beja, and he is Chris, a.k.a. ChanmanV. Welcome back, guys. I know it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it has been forever since we have done one of these, mostly because of personal life stuff. But
for some reason, I don't know why, but I was preparing for the show today, and I was like, oh, it's been super long since I talked to the guys and talked about Overwatch, so I'm really glad to be here. A bunch of stuff has happened.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably the slowest week in a bit, but yeah, there's still a lot to talk about. But yeah, it's
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it feels like a slow week, but there's a number of. Well, we'll get to it. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
It's going well. It's definitely going well. But I know what you mean. Like every time we do these things, I feel like, man, it feels like it's been like a month or something. It feels like it's always that show after we did after BlizzCon or whatnot. It's like it's been a while since we.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, right? Yeah, last episode we were just coming off of BlizzCon, and then in between, like for Chris and I in the States, we had Thanksgiving. So just the holidays always make once it's a holidays in between something, it always makes some whatever comes after it feel like it was a while ago.
That is true.
It's true.
That's probably it. Thanksgiving, and I didn't have Thanksgiving, and still.
God, you're so un-American. Oh wait. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, I was thankful for a bunch of stuff as well, so I guess it kind of counts. One of them was the great buffing of Symmetra of 2016.
Oh, yes.
Indeed.
Oh, yes.
Indeed.
I don't know if you want to jump right into it. You're the MC.
We're not allowed to. We have thanks to give of our own on the show, which is to our show long sponsors, our lifelong sponsors, our patrons over at patreon.com/Overwatchers. I mean, they're the reason we're doing this show. And we also, guys, we have a new sponsor. We picked up our first official sponsor, someone who's not just a patron being nice. Someone who actually thinks we're not that terrible at what we do, and wants to get their message out on our show. .game domains are sponsoring this episode of Overwatchers. So .game domains are available wherever domain names are sold. So if you prefer GoDaddy, if you like web.com, doesn't really matter. You can find a .game domain on there, or you can just go to get.game. So GET.GAME.
So does that mean that every website that ends in .game is sponsoring the show? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Asterisk.
I got it. Wow, this is amazing.
Yes, every single .game website is sponsoring the show. Asterisk.
I mean, really, I'm not saying this because they're paying us, but if you want to have a website that has to do with anything gaming, what better domain than .game would you want?
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer. So
and
go for it. Thank you.
It's an extremely new domain too. It was launched on May 27th, so just about every name is still available. A lot of the best names are still up for grabs. So go check it out.
Do you think like got.game is available? I don't know. I'm going to check right now.
Or I.game. That'd be good.
So many different ideas.
I got .game. Yeah. Or I don't have .game.
I don't.
Which would be mine. Well, huge thanks to .game for sponsoring this episode, and go to get.game and check them out. Now, let's move on to the other thing that apparently Patrick is extremely thankful for, and I'm sure all Symmetra fans are. The Symmetra changes on the PTR. And again, since we're already throwing asterisks around, this PTR subject to change may not actually go to the live game, may cause diarrhea and swelling. Yeah, so Symmetra has received some...
We did it, Reddit. We did it, Reddit. We did it.
Mind-blowing changes on Symmetra. I mean, some great kind of normal tweaks to stuff like her primary fire, got a longer range and stuff like that. Sentry turrets are even easier to put down and to make your hallway of death. But I think there's two big things, right? There's the fact that her old school shields are just gone, and now she has the photon barrier. But the thing I would like to lead this off with is the fact that she has a choice of 2 ultimates, which that's just insane to me. I didn't think they would do this, because it goes against everything we've ever known about Overwatch up until this point, right?
Yeah, I think the introduction into the double ultimate is just expanding, just the scope of what a character can be, because that just means that any character now can have multiple ones, in my eyes at least. So if for whatever reason things start, I don't know, whether it's power creep with some characters, or they just want to like give, I don't know, Torbjorn something else that they don't like Torbjorn, they don't think Molten Core is enough, they can do that now, and all of us will be very accepting of the fact that it has two ultimates. That's pretty cool.
So the 2 ultimates are cool for a game design point. Well, health of the game point of view. As you said, it means that things can change for others as well. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have shields anymore. She has that forward moving shield that I'm sure everyone who's interested in Overwatch has seen. Her E ability is basically creates a kind of a Reinhardt shield, slightly different shape, but that is suspended in the air and moves forward at walking speed. And the shield generator, which is one of her ultimates, the new one, basically gives everyone 3 little bits of shield, basically 75 health, everyone in the area, and it goes through walls. So anytime you get close to it, you get it's a relatively wide.
It's a huge area. Huge like you don't even have to be close. Yeah.
But to me, the actually significant changes for her are the ones that you said, Garrett, were just tweaks to her existing abilities, because her turrets, now she can stack 6 instead of 3, and she can put down the cooldown is only 10 seconds instead of 12, and the other thing
and you start the game with the full click. You start the game with the full 6 stacks. Yeah,
too, you actually get the
you
full
start
6.
You start the 6, so you can immediately put down your entire array of death, as you said, anywhere. But her left click is also, it has 2 more meters of range, which sounds like not a lot, but between those 2, she's become incredibly aggressive. She can be like seriously in your face all the time, and she's deadly. She has become, it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time. If you're playing her, you're happy. If you're playing against her, she can destroy everything in sight, especially when, for those who don't know, Symmetra's left click charges up, right? It starts at 100 health per second damage, I think.
Exactly.
And then when you keep contact, when you keep the beam connected to an enemy, it charges up, I think, to something ridiculous like 300 health per second. It's enormous, and the range makes it so she has. I mean, I think they're going to have to change some of a little bit of it. Either reduce the charged damage or scale back the range a little bit, because she's scary, like seriously scary now.
Yeah, she is. We were talking a little bit about it on the overview yesterday, and a lot of people are saying that she's so strong now, and this is kind of crazy to think about Symmetra in this way, that you basically build a comp around her. She's not just like an element. Before just her toolkit was more of a utility type of character, right? Which is something that you just kind of add on, to something where you have like a very base strategy from a composition. Now that she's so strong, you actually build around her, and it's because of, I think the left click is really, really good, and if you match her with Zarya, she is ridiculous, because Zarya just puts a shield on her and then she just goes to town. Like you can't survive longer than 2 or 3 seconds against her. Like anybody, it doesn't even matter, like giant tank or whatever, you're just gonna die.
Yeah, so do you think she's gonna get reined in before this goes live? Like, it feels like she has to.
Well, I think the 2 meters is okay. I actually think the shield generator is ridiculously strong, because unlike the teleporter, where after you I think you teleport 8 times, or I forget the number, but it disappears, right, after a number of teleports occur. On top of that, guys, another change was that the teleporter and the shield generator have like 400 health now. So like some people you have to use like an alternate sometimes just to kill the teleporter.
Yeah,
because it takes forever to kill.
The other thing with the teleporter too, or the teleporter versus the shield generator, is that like the teleporter, if you're watching where people are coming from, it's pretty easy to tell where it's hidden.
Yeah,
shield generator is a lot harder to figure out exactly where they placed it.
And it doesn't die either. Like it doesn't die unless you go and kill it. So it just stays up forever. And when your entire team gets an additional, 75. Just granted, Symmetra doesn't go and just constantly click E like she used to do, which a lot of Symmetras didn't after the first round. After the first round of shields, they'd just forget. But just even the additional 50 constantly, it's better than the teleporter in my opinion, because you just want to prevent yourself from dying. I think generally the meta right now is just to live, live as long as you can, instead of having just the regen that you get from teleport. So I think that aspect is super strong. I like the shield. I'm not sure how good the shield is quite yet, that little floating shield, but every time I use it, it feels really good. But I don't think it's overpowered at all, because it just takes a second for people to clear the shield and shoot you again. But overall, yeah, I think it's mainly the shield generator that's just incredibly strong right now.
Yeah, I'd say the shield generator and the buffs too, because the turrets as well. The turrets are
nice.
everywhere,
Yeah.
And the thing is, you need to, at this point, you need to make sure that you have a character that can clear them. If you're there with Genji, you're going to be destroyed, right? You need some, I don't know, maybe a Winston or something like that, or a Diva to kill, right? Yeah. Because if you don't, there's no way you can clear all the shields. And by the way you do, they're going to be back up. So all of this makes her, I think they're going to rein her in.
They have to. Yeah, they have to do something. Yeah.
And it might be, it might be that they increase the cooldown time on the turrets. It might be that they reduce the damage on the left click. Maybe they're going to lower the stacking of the turrets again. It's funny because after BlizzCon, we were looking at Sombra and saying, she looks like she could really be super overpowered and she could be used in really interesting ways and blah, blah, blah. And we haven't seen that yet, although I do have a strat that I saw earlier today or yesterday, which is super interesting with Sombra. We'll get to that a little bit later. But overall, I don't think she has changed. She has had a huge impact on the game. Symmetra now, as you're saying, she's on the PTR. She's kind of defining every game.
She's the one that should be running around in a Reaper hood right now. Let's be honest.
Seriously, it's a Reaper hood with her little glowing jump rope or whatever it is that's like flying everywhere, killing people.
Yeah, now that she's been tweaked so much, there's so many ways that they could rein her in, right? They have so many dials now to play with. I'm not really sure which way to go. To me, if I had to pick, I would say the left click. Just the damage on her standard attack seems like maybe that should come down a bit. I'd like the range to stay, but maybe don't just make it a murder machine.
Yeah, maybe have it go back to what it was, and then maybe do something with her other attack, her right click, right? Like that's the one thing they did nothing to. It's her actual click attack.
The right click is a tool that has its place. It's really designed to counter less mobile characters or turrets. Well, basically turrets. And I think it's important to have that function.
Yeah. But they could tweak it. They could make it faster or something like that. Instead of having something crazy powerful, like her left click, like you said, it scales up and it kills. It just mows down people once.
Okay. So you were saying make the right click faster, in addition to bringing down the damage on the left click. I was like, no, it's fine. Don't touch the right click.
I'm saying, yeah. Move the levers in that fashion.
I'm honestly, I'm pretty happy.
The thing I'll say though is the intent of making Symmetra a more active character has definitely been achieved. She can be, some dials can be turned, as you said, but the design is a lot more satisfying as a Symmetra player because you're actually doing things instead of staying back and making sure that being super careful. So I like the way they're thinking with Symmetra. It maybe a little bit too far down that line, but the direction is the right one, I think.
I agree.
The shield generator. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say I like how she feels. Like the overall feel is kind of where I would like it to be. Like I always felt like Symmetra should be a little scarier, a little more proactive than she's always felt. And so they've definitely been successful in that regard. But I would be so surprised if she ends up going live with no changes.
Yeah. Actually, my favorite. Well, the shield generator has to change. That's 75 on top of every single character changes the dynamics of like Widowmaker headshot. Like it requires everything to change. Some require an extra shot, sometimes two extra shots. So I think that 75 is going to be something that's like a no-brainer. With it's not even a choice. So if it's not even a choice for ultimates, then there's an issue there. Like they have to make it at least very situational for the teleporter versus the shield generator and that sort of thing.
That's cute. You clearly don't play Heroes of the Storm. Welcome to my world.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, they should do that.
Where many heroes have two heroics, but yet not really.
Exactly. So they need to do something with that, as well as it shouldn't last as long as it does, because like you said, Garrett, in the beginning, you can just hide that thing pretty easily. Hide that thing, put 6 turrets in that death room, and it's like, like they have to devote their entire team to finding this thing, which that's not going to happen. Like when you're playing against a really good team.
Yeah, especially since remember the both the teleporter and the shield generator have way more health than they used to. It's like 3 times as much. Yeah.
Easy. So. Yeah. So like a tracer would have to use her bomb like on that teleporter just to kill it. So they made it very, very difficult in every way to do that. But I do, one thing I do just love that they changed is the shield. I like the shield a lot. If you guys have gotten a chance to play it, it just feels really smooth, and like you could send that shield up at a Widowmaker, and then you could just totally delay her for 2 or 3 seconds, just being out of the play, and it refreshes pretty quickly too. So I don't know. They wanted to change the interactivity, right, of the E button, and I think they accomplished that like really, really well with it.
I agree, so, and it's also kind of
helping.
That's the
thing I'm most happy with.
It's also kind of helping fill in that gap with Reinhardt's, right? Like now you're, it's not 100% filling the same role, right? But at least it's kind of a Band-Aid if you don't have to have a Reinhardt in every game now. But it does kind of feel like you have to have a Symmetra in every game, so I'm not sure how much of a success that is.
Game. Let's be honest here. We still have to have Reinhardt.
I don't know. I've started seeing Reinhardt a little bit less, honestly.
I'm not talking pro only here.
No. I mean, even when I play like my games like on Quick Play this week, it's like every time we don't have a Reinhardt, it's just like, because I've been trying to play D.Va more, but D.Va's like so less effective without a Reinhardt. It's because I can't go flank because I have to be basically Reinhardt, right? If I'm playing D.Va, so it makes things a lot more difficult when you don't have
and Reinhardt just does that job better than D.Va. So
yeah, exactly.
No, I agree, but I like the idea. I like if there being a Reinhardt-like ability on someone other than Reinhardt, even though it's not exactly the same. I wouldn't want it to be.
Yeah.
So
I'm wondering how it would work out if the shield moved a little bit slower.
Good actually if it's moved slower, because right now I think she gets only protected for about, I'd say a second and a half. Yeah, but like it clears people pretty quickly, and then like instantly she can die right after that, right? So you have to target somebody immediately right after you shield and just kind of walk with it. But like let's just say you're going against a Bastion and it's super slow. I mean, your entire team could just like rush behind that thing and Bastions would be just dead. That would be amazing. But right now, I think, I don't know, I kind of like the speed. But if it was slower, it would be more powerful, for sure.
I agree.
I think so.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy overall. And my fun note for the week, now with like all this shield crap going on with Symmetra, she needs a Protoss skin, and she needs it now.
She pretty much looks like she's Protoss.
Yeah, we need one that's just on the nose, though. We need one that's just straight up a Protoss skin.
Yeah, like a Protoss cosplay or something, because we know StarCraft exists in the world, so she could be cosplaying a Protoss.
Yeah,
that would work.
Sell it.
D.Va's an ex-StarCraft pro. There you go.
There you go.
Done and done. But we also got Oasis on the PTR. Yep. This is the new King of the Hill map.
It was released yesterday, so if you haven't seen it yet, it's just very recent.
Yeah,
beautiful.
all I want to talk about is we can get killed by cars. Apparently, there's traffic in the map that will run you over.
A Sombra thing and locator on it. Yeah.
It's basically that is kind of a it's made the headlines in gaming sites because it's kind of funny, but if you try the map, it actually doesn't really happen. It's really off on the side. If you go, it's like jumping off off the map in a place where, like in Numbani, for example,
right?
If you can go jump off the map, and yes, technically you could be thrown off the map by a Lucio that's specifically waiting for you there and doing nothing but that for the whole match. But realistically, it's not going to happen. It's more just a detail of the map in the background.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the map so far? It's a King of the Hill map for those of you that don't, or capture point map. Yeah. So
the big thing about this map was the fact that there's a jump pad in one of the points, right? One of the 3 points has a jump pad, and I obviously looked for it immediately when I first played it. It's tucked away.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to find. And yes, it makes you jump above everything, but it's a distance, between the jump pad and the point, and there's a bunch of stuff on the way. There's a gallery, a little bridge between that, and in the middle of the point there's a giant like tower like thing, so the enemies might be behind it. And so what it comes down to is the fact that you can use it, but it's not. It doesn't feel to me like there's a huge effect. It was kind of underwhelming. I did, once did a soldier ult and jumped and killed a couple of people, but it was funny. It wasn't like it changed the way I would use the ultimate. I could have achieved that result just by walking around and positioning myself correctly. So, yeah, I was a little bit underwhelmed by the jump pad aspect to it, even if it does throw you 20 or 30 meters into the air. The map itself is really beautiful, but it's fun because it's another King of the Hill map, but it's just that. It's just another map, It's not gonna make anyone's head explode in any way, I don't think.
Yeah, I'd agree with you with the jump pad too. It was crazy how long it took me to find it because I didn't know when I first got into it. I didn't know exactly which map it was. So there's 3 of them, right? So I was like literally looking for it on every map, and then I finally found it, and I'm like, okay, cool. So when I did it, it is pretty far away from the point, which was, I was hoping it would just be part of the skirmishes, right? You just see all these McCree's just popping in the air, like all these characters. Hell, maybe Symmetra popping in the air and doing something crazy.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where maybe you can get to the point a little bit faster, or maybe you said, Soldier could get there maybe a little quicker with his visor on, but
it doesn't really get you to the point faster because the point is in the center and it's off on the side of the point. So
so you have to run to it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of just it seems like just a more creative way to give characters that can't move vertically just a way to take a higher path rather than just walking upstairs. Yeah, but then the path
is blocked, kind of.
It is blocked,
it's not. Yeah, when you jump, it's not. It doesn't open up your view to things that let you do stuff. I think they're being a little bit conservative with the jump pad to make sure they don't throw the whole game out of whack with just this thing, and so they're trying with slightly less impactful mechanics or implementations first. So yeah, I don't know.
You can there's definitely stuff that you can still do that's probably super powerful. Like I could see even Diva just like popping up and then launching herself straight, like angled down, and then using her nuke in a very powerful way. But yeah, I think they're being conservative about it too. I'm positive they've tried the jump pad near the the point, and it was probably way too powerful because I mean, that's the most obvious thing, right? Just hell, just even having 2 or 3 of them or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see, like, I guess, what people come up with, even just where the jump pad is right now.
Yeah, I still feel like they could have put it closer and still designed the point in a way that would have been fine. Like, as long as you play with sight lines to where when you're jumping, maybe you can't see onto the point itself, but you can see around it. So if one pokes out from the point, then they're in danger from anyone being on the jump pad shooting them. But yeah, I don't know. It just came out, but I mean, my gut reaction is I was way more excited about Eichenwald than I am about Oasis.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, remember when we were on the panel, right? We were asking them about Oasis, and they pretty much said they learned a lot from Ilios, from particularly Ruins, right? And I definitely see a lot of Ilios on that map, like just all 3 of them. There's one that's more, you know, covered, and it's very much about just these chokes that just are coming along, like left side and right side and whatnot, and it feels a little bit like the well, right, on Ilios. There's the one that's pretty wide open that feels like Ruins. So yeah, it's pretty similar. There's one that actually has like a second level that kind of goes over the point a little bit. Like half of the point is actually the second level that you can look down on. I think that one's pretty interesting because we've never had a point that's literally half in the, you know, like on the second level and half on the ground. Like you can see battles where like Roadhog's trying to pull people from up top and things like that. But for the most part, yeah, it's very similar to things that we've seen in Ilios. Nothing that new.
There's definitely some interesting, I don't want to say mechanics, that's pushing it a little bit, but interesting map design aspects to each of these points, and it does tweak things a little bit. So it's kind of, I guess Ilios is a great example. It's kind of the same thing. There are Ilios, you had a lot of, like, the well in the middle of one of the points was like, oh my God, you can push people in. That's super fun. And there isn't quite that, but there's one where the point is actually off to the side and you have a relatively secure area, like kind of tower where you can get on the side of it. There's a bridge on one end. There's like interesting little passages, and it's fun. Like there's one where you can go under the point and there's a health back there, and then you can jump up from under the point, like in the middle of it. So it's okay. It's not as exciting as Eichenwald, I would agree with you. It's probably on the level of just a little bit under Ilios. It's not, you know, the most exciting thing ever.
All right, I think that's our consensus.
Great. Yeah. But yeah, again, it just came out yesterday. I mean, I've played limited games on it, but you know, most of the games I've played has Symmetra basically too. So I have a very Symmetric-centric view of Oasis.
How is it as a Symmetra Mac?
If I played some of the other characters, it'd be different.
Yeah, no, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's additional content. It's not, it's still it's a good thing for the game. It's not like it's a hot mess. I just think Eichenwald was so damn cool and kind of went places both visually and just in map design that Overwatch hadn't gone yet. And this kind of just feels to me like a return to launch Overwatch design. But
in what way?
It just the overall look. Just I don't know. There's just nothing about it that surprised me. I guess there was so much hype about the jump pad, and then as we've talked about, it's kind of just it's just there, and it doesn't have a huge impact on the skirmishes. That the rest of the map, I mean, it just feels like another Overwatch map to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that being said, traffic's cool. Reminds me of Smash Brothers.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know the maps that you play with your friends, not at Smash Brother tournaments, that have things that can kill you in the environment. That's why it reminds me of Smash Brothers.
Right. That's funny.
But it's more content. That's great. I think that there's a reason we led with the Symmetra changes. I think that's the big thing on the PTR right now.
For sure.
So is Oasis supposed to be close to Numbani, or what's the story here with Oasis?
I don't know.
I think it feels like Numbani a little bit, right? So
yeah.
they're close.
So the thing is, we don't have a lot of context, but Oasis is in the Middle East and Numbani is in Africa.
No, that's pretty far.
So yeah, it's not. I mean, we don't know where in Africa. It could be in northern Africa, and to the west, and it could be very close. But no, I think Numbani is more like the continental, further south for sure.
Yeah, that's what probably my favorite little detail on there is like those Middle Eastern archways that come to a point in the center as opposed to keeping a just a nice soft arc. I love that type of architecture, and that's probably my favorite little touch in Oasis. But
yeah, it's very nice, and I've seen I have a few friends from the Middle East who were tweeting little details from the map and saying, oh, look, this looks just like this that we have here. And so it's, as always, it seems that the team is being very inspired by the actual settings and very respectful as well of all of this, which is, a constant with this game, and is really nice to see the amount to which they've integrated so many different cultures and what we always talk about with this game, the respectfulness of all of it is kind of joyful to see for me. And yeah, so there you go.
I really dig it. I mean, it's what Overwatch has been doing all along. This kind of the best of us, like whatever your culture is, they crank it up to 11, really put it on display.
I love the best of us. It could be like a title to the sequel to The Last of Us.
Exactly.
That wouldn't be nearly as optimistic as I believe Overwatch is.
That would be a total 180. That game was nothing like that.
All right, I want someone to write their fanfic about how The Last of Us leads to Overwatch.
Oh, wow.
Well, that would be strange.
I want to know how we get from there to here.
Did you see? Maybe I'll leave it for the community section. It's just, never mind. Keep.
Fair enough. Well, actually, Patrick, it's time for you to take the reins because I can tell without seeing who put these next two things in there that it's got you poured all over it. I mean, the next thing is in French, and then the second thing is talking about Mac. And there's only one person on the show that speaks French, and I'm pretty sure only one person in this world that gives a crap about Overwatch on Mac, and that's you.
That is true. And I only give a crap because my travel machine is a Mac, and of course at home I have a PC like any self-respecting gamer would.
Wow. We just lost all our console listeners.
Sorry, console players.
Oh, console players. I mean, it's cute, but really. No, I'm kidding. I play on consoles.
Actually, we didn't bring it up, but if these Symmetra changes go live on console, oh my god, because it's so easy to hit people with her primary fire. You're going to have the Torbjorn problem all over again, but with Symmetra.
Yeah, but at least there's only one in the team. But still, yeah, I agree. Although, maybe it's going to be less easy to follow people with the beam than it is on PC. So maybe it won't be as bad as we fear, but
it'll still be easier than just about every other weapon in the game to land on people.
Basically. And just for the record, I probably have more consoles than any of the, well, maybe not any, but many of the people in the audience. So I love consoles too. Anyway, first thing is not about the Mac though. It's Sombra strategy that I saw on a video that AlphaCast, the French caster and captain of the Overwatch the French Overwatch team for the Overwatch Cup did, and it's a really interesting strategy that took place in a match, in an esports match a few days ago. So maybe okay, Chris, I see you nodding. You've actually seen it. So let me explain how it works for a second, and then you'll tell us what you think. Basically, what happens is that you get two or three tanks that are tasked with taking a little bit of damage and then going to a health pack that Sombra has hacked to replenish their health. And what happens there is that when a health pack is used, that a health pack that Sombra hacked is used, it replenishes her ultimate. So by doing that, the example was on King's Row. By doing that, Sombra was charging her ultimate within, literally in 30 seconds. She had a fully charged ultimate, and then she would go and initiate the team fight with a huge advantage, obviously, because not only do you disable everyone else's special ability, but they also don't have any ultimates built up yet. It's so early in the game. So they would charge her ultimate like this, engage, and wipe out at least 2 or 3 characters, and then they would manage to win the team fight pretty handily. And it could be the kind of thing that we were talking about when we were saying, well, we don't know exactly how strong she's going to be. We have to see how the pros use her, like we did for Anna, where it took a few weeks before people figured out that this specific combination or this strategy was really efficient. So it was interesting. I don't know how viable it is, but what do you think, Chris? Is it a gimmick, or is it actually going to be used like that in the future?
So it's broken, actually. Okay. I think that's so. I think every pro player knows about this, and it's analogous to what Ana was when she first came out, where you could literally charge her ult like every 15 seconds. Like you just let your tanks just sit there and take damage, and she's just pumping them up like constantly, right? Something like, I guess we've seen historically with Mercy too, but with Ana it was really, really bad. It was literally, you could get boosts in 15 seconds. I think this one is not quite as fast. I mean, some people use the locator too, so like have Sombra heal at least one of those iterations too. Like she'll just jump in there, shoot a few times, and then just go back and get the heal too.
But heal herself to charge her own.
Yeah, so either just the tanks or herself too.
And then
just
she's also
whatever's
landing
most
hits
efficient, right?
Also landing hits with bullets when she dives in. Gets a little bit of charge off that.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. Whatever shots she lands too. So you're right though. I think at max it takes 30 seconds. It could be as fast as 20 to 25 seconds. I've even seen. And when you get ultimate before everybody else, and your ultimate literally shuts down the right click for everybody else, I mean, especially at the pro level, you just get team wiped like every time. So it's not quite that efficient right now, even at the pro level, but it can easily be that efficient if everybody coordinates it. So it's broken. I mean, at least the charge ulting aspect of it is broken. I don't think you need to have it charged based on the health kit that you get. I think that's probably an easy change for them, just to not charge your ult based on that.
Well,
otherwise, it might be kind of hard for her to charge her ult, so they'll have to figure out some other way.
That's what I'm saying.
They can easily turn down the amount of charge.
Yeah, maybe just turn down the amount. Yeah,
that's what I think. I would still like to see her get some charge, because it incentivizes you to play Sombra as intended, which is this kind of infiltrator, so you get in their back line. I mean, the thing that would be great is if there was some way for the game to know that you're hacking the enemy's health packs, and maybe get a charge from that. But I can't think of any way that makes sense, because it's not like they're picking it up, because that's the whole point of the hack. But
right, and health kits having some affiliation is, any health kit is universal, right? So or global, so that would be an interesting thing in itself. But I think you guys are right. I think you just lower the ultimate, because it's really about her just getting it first. Even if she got it when everybody else got it, hers still trumps everybody else, right? When it comes to the first engagement. But at least she would, at least it wouldn't feel nearly as bad. Like she can almost get 2 ults before you get a single one. And I think that's like much, much worse, especially with the nerf before, where the ultimates just charge slower now than they used to too. So
yeah. But
it's something they have to change.
It should be, it absolutely needs to be tweaked in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the Sombra thing. Now for the Mac thing, actually everyone who uses a Mac and who is a gamer knows that Overwatch doesn't run on Macs.
Wait. Gamers own Macs?
Some of them do. Don't listen. Every Blizzard game until Overwatch was available on a Mac. So
I know.
I
rated on a MacBook in college. I understand.
There are ways to do it. You can install Boot Camp, and it's a little bit cumbersome because you have to reboot between your sessions. But there is a virtualization that is possible. You can install VMware VirtualBox Parallels to run Windows within your Mac OS in a window. And in theory, it would be possible to install games, but all of these companies are not catering to gamers with those software, those virtualization software. They're more catering to business, uses of the platform. One of them, however, Parallels, has included in the latest version of their software, version 12, a sort of a hack to be able to launch Overwatch. The issue is with the others, they don't emulate DirectX 11. I think they're stuck on 10. And like 10 is from 2006. It's ridiculous. And Overwatch needs DirectX 11. And I don't think Parallels 12 actually has DirectX 11, but it somehow hacks it together for Overwatch. So in theory, you can install Parallels, install Windows, and launch Overwatch from it. And you can. I did it. I tried it. It launches. It actually plays the game. I was having weird issues with stuttering of some kind. I could, if I lowered the settings enough it's a very new Mac. It's like a decked out discrete graphics card one. So it's not an integrated graphics card. I don't know how well that would run there, but there is some weird stuttering happening, which I'm thinking might have to do with the settings I'm using, because there's no reason it couldn't just run properly. It would go from 30 to 40 FPS down to 10 and stop for a second. So it might be the settings. If for some reason you're desperate to play Overwatch on your Mac and you are willing to pay the $80 for Parallels 12, which sounds like a very strange thing to do, but maybe, and you're willing to try it and tweak the settings and all of it, you can. There's a demo for Parallels 12, which you can download and install for free. It's a 14 days demo, so you can try it. Parallels has a tendency to put a bunch of crap on your thing. It's not my favorite virtual machine software, but again, if you really want to play Overwatch in that weird convoluted way on your Mac without having to install Boot Camp, maybe give it a try. If you have a discrete graphics card, it might work. So yeah, there you go. I wanted to mention it because I know we have a lot of Mac fans Mac owners who would like to play Overwatch, and it might be a solution for you guys. So there you go. I mean, really, if you want to do it, Boot Camp is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the right way to do it. It's so strange to me that it's not on. We don't have a Mac release at this point.
So, I mean, we've discussed this a few times, but the real problem is those integrated graphics card, and it's not going to get any better with the recent Macs because only one of the models has an option for a discrete graphics card, and that's not going to help. So I don't see that happen. I think, was it Kaplan? Someone mentioned something about this recently. He was saying basically the problem is Apple doesn't make things easy for game developers. So they love the Mac. They would love to be able to do it, but it's not easy for a number of reasons. So it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I know I was poking the bear at the beginning, but I used to be a Mac user, and this is really what's kept me away, is just this move away from discrete graphics cards.
Yeah, and if you're a gamer, it's really hard to keep making a case for buying a Mac. I mean, if at least when you had all the Blizzard games, you could say, well, I only play Blizzard games, so I have that, and that's what I care about. nowadays, there was a brief period of a few years in the early 2010s when it was looking like maybe, but now not so much.
Yeah.
So
I have my one like hardcore Mac friend who plays all the Blizzard games, and I'm just like, well, what about Overwatch? He's like, oh, I'm not that interested in it. I'm like, are you not that interested in it? Or are you convincing yourself you're not that interested in it?
You know, it might be that the great Steve in the sky said that he wasn't very interested in it, so he decided he agreed. There you go.
Fantastic. Well, before we move on, let's thank our patrons supporting the podcast over at patreon.com/Overwatchers. If you like Overwatchers and you want to support us, that is the best way to do so. We're going to keep doing it. It's still going to be free. Always will be. We're not going to put it behind a paywall, don't worry. But if you ever want to support the show monetarily, that is the way to do so. So huge thanks to our producers, LVE and .game. And also, Not Valu, Ben, Dirty Tokyo Music. They got to, fight against clean Tokyo music all the time. Ken M., High Noon Podcast. I don't think that's your name. I think that's a podcast.
Yeah.
Cool. And Kasim or Kasim K. I apologize in advance.
That might be a friend of. Yeah, that's him. Oh, nice. Thank you, Kasim. He's a friend of mine. He's on my friend's shows very often.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you all for supporting Overwatchers, and we're moving towards that first goal, guys. More episodes. When we hit that goal, more episodes. It can happen. We can do it. So go check that out, patreon.com/Overwatchers. Now, let's talk about what's been going on in the community, because, good God, how did I miss this? I saw it just before the show. The Chinese fan-made Overwatch infiltration short is hilarious.
It's kind of hard to describe, and I don't know that.
I can describe it. Hey, everyone, okay. You a fan of low-cost cosplay? You probably are. Imagine the entire infiltration short done in the style of low-cost cosplay.
Exactly. It's pretty incredible. It's a group of Chinese players, and they have no shame about any of this. They're really getting into it, and the cleverness of the way they designed their very low-cost cosplay and set props and everything is joyful.
Yeah,
it's really smile-inducing.
It's very. I wonder if it was done in Hong Kong or not. I'm not sure, but it's very Hong Kong, TV show, those TV series kind of style, which is actually awesome.
Yeah. My favorite thing are like the Reaper smoke effects and how they pull those off. Like the one where he's going up is just like pants with no one in it with shoes tied to the end as it's moving up a staircase. It's hysterical. And so if you haven't seen it, literally just YouTube search Chinese fan-made Overwatch infiltration, or we've got a link in the show notes over at emove.tv/Overwatchers. It's hysterical.
Amazing. I mean, when you have the screens showing up for Sombra in the beginning, and it's just basically a bunch of plastic foil wrap.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible. Just go and Widowmaker's eyes are basically Coke bottle caps stuck to the head of the dude. It's fantastic.
It's so good. It's so childlike, but these are grown-ass dudes. I love it. I freaking love it. It just makes me want to go, like, pull out or make a really bad Indiana Jones costume like I did when I was 7.
That's basically what it is.
And then I haven't actually seen this yet. Tell me about the performance stat tracker.
Oh yeah, so we've definitely spent a lot of time on this show talking about, or at least I have, talking about just your MMR or your actual skill rating going up and down, and how it's hard to track our progression, based on just the very little information that we see, like during the game. Like literally you just see your rating go up or down, don't have any idea why it goes up or down like that much to a certain extent, or at least really from a granular extent. Anyways, there's a performance stat tracker that some community members have made, and they've been developing this thing for months and months now, so iterating through it many times. And it's made for you to basically, just like enter in your information after each game, and then literally like after a period of time, maybe after even just like 3 games or whatnot, you can start seeing, you can start tracking your progress and seeing exactly how much rating you've gone up and down, seeing like, from a graphical standpoint too, and just giving you a much better sense of how you're improving in the game, not just from a holistic standpoint, but from a very, very specific standpoint. So if you're playing the same character over and over again, you can see just how much like your damage like output has been, or maybe how much you've been healing and what, that sort of thing. And it's been really, really good. I just started using this actually, and it's been pretty interesting. I know a lot of other people have used it for a while and they love it, so I figured I'd give it a try. And recently it was posted I think at the top of competitive Overwatch 2.
So you have to manually enter all of this stuff? There's no uploader or anything?
Well, there's like a tool that you just enter it, I believe. At least that's the part that I've been kind of messing with. There might be an importer somewhere, but
basically for the people who don't know, which include me, these things work like it's a spreadsheet, and like a Excel or LibreOffice, whatever spreadsheet, and you have to enter, as you said, the numbers for the character you play, how much damage you do, how much healing you do, like these kinds of things. And it only takes work intensive.
It is work intensive, but it's again, like if you're really into trying to track your performance, there's no importer, I don't believe right now, so you do have to kind of keep track of the stuff yourself. But it is a way for you to actually get some persistent data for yourself, and it tracks up to 3 characters that you play in a single game, so it doesn't go past it. So if you're just switching between 5 different characters, it only tracks your first 3. But yeah, it's only for the hardcore people. It's not for your casual Overwatch player, but for the folks that really want to improve in Overwatch and have been having a hard time like figuring it out themselves, this is a pretty good tool.
So just for the hardcore, no Mac or console player.
Mac.
Come on!
I'd say a Mac user is a hardcore user if they're gonna figure out the parallel thing. Totally.
Let's say I think I poked the bear enough on that. I traditionally love these kinds of tools. I use trackers in Hearthstone and Heroes.
Oh yeah.
But it all happens automatically for me when I play the game. I will not do this. I'm not going to manually input all of my numbers. That's ridiculous.
It's not the easiest thing, but yeah, it's again for the just hardcore Overwatch player.
Yeah.
If this picks up enough steam, it's not impossible that the Blizzard team might output a file, text file that these kinds of tools could read, or you could import easily with these kinds of data. It would be relatively easy to get a format with just a text file with match, result, character played, and the data that's already summarized at the end of the match for your character. So
I mean, definitely that, or an API call, or something that's based on results. So there's no chance of information affecting the actual gameplay itself. That's the thing that you're worried about.
The site already has a lot of information. You have your profile, and the trackers already do a lot of that, so they could include some of that. It's a lot more data, obviously, but
Well, I think what the site provides is your overall averages, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so if you
but that's what I mean. They could add match information. If you would probably have to go and enable
like a log. You mean? Yeah, something like that. I see what you mean.
I think it's just saying more added information, and not necessarily the granular stuff that you're hand entering, because doesn't seem like there's any way for them to get it anyway. At least automatically. That's why you have to enter it by hand. But well, that's cool. Definitely not for the casual scrub like me. Well, Chanman, what's going on in the world of Overwatch eSports?
A lot. The one thing that doesn't seem to be slowing down is really Overwatch eSports. Even with the announcement of the league, and the league's not even fully just all the details of the league haven't even been fully established and when it even starts. In the meantime, there's still a ton of tournaments that are going on. Of course, the big one is the Apex League that is starting to that will conclude this weekend with the finals. But since our last show, there's actually been the quarterfinals and the semifinals that have happened, as well as some big team news involving just one of our, the Western teams over here, just one of the most popular teams over here that had a roster change, and Tailspin left Envious mid Apex League, like right before the quarterfinals. In fact, like 2 or 3 days before the quarterfinals. So that shocked everybody, probably except for the folks that are on Team Envious that knew that this was going to happen. So they had to fill in with a Thai player, Mickey, who this is actually a really cool story. He made a name for himself actually at the Overwatch World Cup for BlizzCon. If you guys don't remember, Thailand was one of those dark horses that everybody started to pick because they were just wrecking in scrims against all the teams. And Mickey was definitely one of the best players that came from it. There was this whole stat tool that they used for the World Cup that basically showed, it was like some kind of kill rating, I don't know what they used for the algorithm, but Mickey's kill rating was super high apparently. So he just stood out to everybody, and they just picked him up, had him basically play off tank because he's a really good D.Va and Zarya player, and he's basically just been playing D.Va the whole time. So practice with him for 2 days, and then they go into a quarterfinals with Rogue, the other obviously European team that we all know and love. And Rogue, the way the Apex was set up, they get to choose who their opponent. They were like the #1 seed, so they chose who the opponent they wanted, and they chose Envious because of the certain situation. Well, you can kind of see where the storyline's going, right? Because they chose Envious, they're like, oh, their rosters and just in definitely in disarray. So this should be an easy first round quarters or whatnot, and they just shocked everybody. It was kind of funny because Monty and Doa were casting it too, and they're just like, man, Envious is just showing these type of games so far. That's actually already an accomplishment or whatever, right? Because they were down like 0-1, and they were down 1-2 at one point too. So they were like, Rogue was on match point or whatever, and then they come back and they win 3-2 with just some amazing plays from just all of them. They switched roles too. That's one thing I forgot to mention, is that Mickey coming into D.Va. Most of you guys know that have been following that Internet Hulk has always been that flex, off tank, Winston player or whatnot. So what they ended up doing is they switched Internet Hulk to Lucio, and then their previous Lucio player, Harry Hook, who's been rumored to be an amazing hit scan player for a long time now, moved over to hit scan and Soldier and McCree and that stuff. And Harry Hook's just been destroying people. People are like, why hasn't he been playing this the entire time? Because he's an amazing hit scan player. So a little bit of a perfect storm. If you're going to have a roster change, they had the perfect roster change for them, given that they have very talented players on their team that are able to switch like that and switch at a high level. Internet Hulk's an amazing Lucio too. So anyways, they ended up beating Rogue, and then coming into the semifinals, they ended up playing Kongdu Uncia, who destroyed Lunatic High in the quarterfinals, which those of you that have been following, again, like the World Cup and everything, Lunatic High has been, arguably the best Korean team, at least in a lot of our eyes over here. But anyways, they ended up beating them 3-0, and it has a lot to do with the meta changing with the patch coming out and whatnot. But anyways, Kongdu Uncia, one of their players in an interview even said that they've never lost to Envious in a scrimmage. So this was supposed to be a romp, I think, in a lot of people's eyes. And then Envious ends up playing amazing series. Actually, if you haven't watched that series, you guys should definitely go watch it. The link is definitely in the notes here. And it was a fantastic series. Lots of crazy plays. Mickey in his D.Va ults, I mean, in both the quarterfinals and semifinals, I've never seen a D.Va kill so many people with their ults. just killing 2, 3, 4 people at a time, like in very, very key moments of the matches too.
How does is it positioning? Is it why does it, because Diva's ult feels like a thing you just throw it where there's people and either they can run away or they don't, but it doesn't feel like it's a thing that takes a lot of skill to master. You're saying he actually masters it to a level that we're not used to seeing.
I mean, in the end, it is just like triggering it, right? But it takes a lot of teamwork. It's basically happening a lot right after a Reinhardt Earthshatter. So a lot of I think the team fights are revolving around whose Reinhardt shield goes down first, and then the opponent's Reinhardt Earthshatter just basically puts the entire team on the ground. And then D.Va ults right after that.
Yeah, it's a lot about combo and situational awareness.
Yeah, but it's everything that's leading up to that. So Mickey, he's been amazing at just shutting down soldiers, just matrixing in front of them while they're visoring, and Soldier seems to be the go-to DPS character right now in the meta. He's been great about just getting back line, but of course that's all available because Chip, their Ana player is constantly healing them from afar too. So it's been really a collective team, but the huge plays have just been the kills basically, and watching D.Va just put down all these people like right before an Eichenwald, just checkpoint or whatnot. That's been like highlights because some of these games literally end on D.Va blowing up everybody. It's just like, wow, that was amazing, like in overtime or whatnot. So yeah, definitely check that out. Their opponent's going to be Africa Blue, which is obviously a Korean team, and they ended up getting through by beating BK Stars, which was really interesting because the semifinals, the meta or the compositions for both semifinals were completely different. So we saw what I would think is like the strongest meta right now from the NVS and Kongdu semifinals, with Soldier basically carrying as DPS, and you see the D.Va and the Reinhardt and maybe a Roadhog in there too, just kind of a triple tank from here and there, and you're kind of jumping back and forth from that. Where like with the Africa Blue and BK Stars, you were seeing Genji being played and a lot of Tracer too, and not as much as the Reinhardt D.Va kind of played too. I mean, D.Va is still being played, but not to the same extent as the other one. I mean, Zarya was even being played more, I think, in the Korean semifinal there. So it'll be interesting to see what Africa Blue does with NBS, because NBS isn't going to change. I don't think they can change based on just their current roster, just this temp roster. So if Africa Blue can come up with something that just counters what NBS does, it might be pretty interesting. Otherwise, I think everybody thinks that the NBS Kongdu semifinal was pretty much the finals. Should be pretty fun to watch. That's going to happen this weekend, the finals.
Can we just take a second or a moment of silence for the only actual American player on the American team of Envious to leave?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, so Tailspin leaving, there's some drama there too, like at least a little bit of drama, but it's your typical, like he obviously wasn't in line, or just they're having some personality clashes, or at least some philosophical clashes with practice and whatnot. And yeah, Tailspin leaving is a big deal. Like he's definitely the best Pharah still, I think, in the game, and I mean he's very, very competent in all the DPS projectile characters. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets when he gets picked up. There's no question he will get picked up. But he said he wants to just take a break too. So he's just streaming right now, hanging out, and probably just kind of recharging the batteries right now.
Yeah, I understand that sometimes things don't work out, but I also look at what Blizzard is trying to do with the Overwatch League, and that's not the first time something like this has happened. And the fact that they would leave, I understand that they're not getting along, so they want to go. But in the middle of a major tournament, come on, man. I mean, you can't go for another 2 or 3 days. I don't know what happened, so I don't want to judge. That seems like some kind of, a little bit of diva. Like not the character, but like Giga Diva.
D-I-V-A.
And it seems to me like some of the attitudes are going to have to change if the Overwatch League. It's not even, it's like the kind of players that can do these kind of things, they're not going to get signed. And hopefully we'll have enough of the other kinds of players that are serious enough to not leave in the middle of a major tournament to make up for interesting teams, because that I thought was spectacularly uncool. Unless there's something I'm missing.
But they're in the finals, so it's hard to really say it was a bad thing, because, I mean, we've seen in other esports the opposite of this. When roster locks are in place and a team isn't getting along, they're not allowed to shake up their roster, that they tank. That's what happened to a Tempo Storm last year in Heroes of the Storm. They were undefeated all year, and then all this drama comes out about how they basically all hate each other, and apparently some dude doesn't even bathe and just straight up smells funny. That was one of the things that came out. I'm not even joking. Their freaking team manager got online and aired their dirty laundry publicly. It was the most unprofessional thing I'd ever seen.
Oh God, that's
literally dirty laundry.
Literally dirty laundry. Apparently still on someone's person, but nonetheless, and because of the roster lock, because of the rules of the Heroes of the Storm League last year, they weren't allowed to shake it up, and they tanked when they went to BlizzCon.
Well, okay, I understand that this might be an undesirable consequence, but even like when you're playing through a tournament, if you're a team and what is the other option? You change all the time if you're not happy? I mean, no, it doesn't. I don't know. I
guess the point I'm making is Overwatch esports it's still extremely young. This isn't an official Blizzard League. Official Blizzard League is coming. This is going to happen at this stage of the game.
I mean, sure. I kind of understand. I definitely agree with both of you guys. I'll probably side a little bit more with Patrick here, even though I think if Tailspin would have stayed, they would not be where they are right now. So I don't know if that's just like fortuitous or whatnot, but I do agree that professionalism is actually going to be the biggest thing that I think a lot of these players will have a wake up call whenever this league happens, because it's going to be the organizations that determine if you're playing or not. You know what I mean? You don't determine if you're playing or not. If you sign a contract with us, you are, you're working for us, and like you're going to be playing no matter what. It doesn't matter. So I think a lot of these players still feel like, if for whatever reason, even if I'm on contract, these contracts are breakable, and like if I'm not personally happy with my team, then I shouldn't be with them. And I don't think it's like Tailspin. I mean, obviously Tailspin probably spent a lot of time thinking about this. It's been something that's probably pent up for a long time now. It's not something that he we just didn't get along this weekend, or just our time in Korea and then that's it. I'm sure it's built up for a while now, but like you said, it's like mid-tournament. I mean, literally, this is like the biggest tournament right now, right? And having him, just leave literally 2 days before is very shocking. I think a lot of the community, I think, would agree with that it was very, it puts the envious in a very difficult situation, and in some ways it just totally negates just the result, period, right? It's like if I don't know, it's just like if some professional team like the Patriots or something, the NFL team, they made the playoffs and then Tom Brady gets hurt. Of course, they're a terrible team after that, right? It's a little bit analogous to that. Just ends up it's the opposite, because they just have amazing chemistry for whatever reason now. But yeah, so from a professional standpoint, I just think that this type of thing is kind of continuing this whole players, or just generally these esport teams and players not having this level of professionalism that you'll eventually have to have when it comes to these high money, super structured league that the Overwatch league that Blizzard's going to be running. No,
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just, I guess what I'm saying is, because of the point we're at in Overwatch's esports progression, I'm not as up in arms about this. Also, this is a fantastic storyline because they, as you said, they were down so much and they came back and won it. Which I think is, and I think it's fine for where it's at right now. I mean, do I think that players are going to have to learn to suck it up and just be professional? Absolutely, because like you said, once we get the Overwatch League, they're not going to have that option. If they're not getting along, they're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that work together that don't get along. I mean, a lot of people listening, and they probably have jobs where there's somebody.
You guys, I don't really like all that much. We still have to do a show.
We had a brawl behind BlizzCon. Like, we have open fist fight with the three of us, and we still get together every week and put together this show because we're professionals, damn it.
I'm fake laughing right now.
Yeah. I totally didn't hug
That's
both
the
of
one
you multiple
thing I admire
times.
about you, Chris. Your fake laugh sounds so genuine.
Oh man. But anyways, that's Apex League. There's obviously a couple. There's some more events going on. Oh, DreamHack Winter just happened this past weekend too. Over on Jönköping, and Misfits ends up taking it over Fnatic, which actually surprises a lot of people. I think most folks thought that the Fnatic was looking really good during the tournament and playing kind of a 3-tank strategy, and then Misfits comes into the finals, or just their last few rounds, and breaks out a triple DPS single tank strategy that ends up working. So they ended up playing, this Tracer. Actually, it was a Tracer, Widow, and I believe it was Soldier. I think it was Soldier. Tracer Widow stick out the most to me because Soon was playing unbelievable on Tracer, and then Zebasai was just wrecking with Widow, and this was on like a single Winston tank composition. So they blew a lot of people's minds by ended up winning the tournament that way.
Sorry, can you repeat? They had 3 DPS, 2 support, and 1 tank?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And it was pretty crazy.
So they coasted on coasted. They managed on the amount of damage, I guess, and they overwhelmed I guess the opposing team didn't have 3 tanks or anything like that. But maybe
the opposing did. They were running 3 tanks. That's what was like, what's going on? Like, this is crazy. Yeah. So they ended up still taking it. I mean, they had to, there'd be a Mei mixed in every once in a while, but Mei's really good just against the tanks, period. But just the single Winston was just like, Winston is really bad right now. Like, and I think in most games I've seen, just because Diva is really strong, Roadhog's being played, in about half the games too. So those characters are extremely good against Winston, and there's just not that many squishy players for Winston to kill right now. So even Miro, who's the best Winston in the world, in my opinion, even during his matches, with the quarterfinals in the Apex League, he couldn't do much of anything with the current composition. So it was pretty shocking that they broke it out. But Widowmaker was extremely just effective, surprisingly. And then Soon just played unbelievable with Tracer. I mean, Tracer's always been pretty good against tanks and working them down and whatnot.
That's what I was about to ask. So why do you think at its core, why do you think it was so successful? Did they just overwhelm them with damage output?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was like the main thing, that they were just dealing so much damage, and it takes a high level of skill to be able to pull it off, but they were able to do it. So it just shows you that there's so many different compositions that just work, and it's a testament to how well the balance is right now, in the game, and how Blizzard continually tweaks it, changes it, or whatnot. Early on in the beta, or maybe midway through the beta, there were some like very large swings where McCree was like way too powerful and that sort of thing. But right now, I feel like there are 4 or 5 different things you can try, and we haven't even talked about Sombra yet at all. I think people are starting to try to figure that out, and then Symmetra is on the way, whether it's this month or next month. So it's pretty exciting. It's exciting for
so a hero that's already in the game is on its way in the next month or two. What world we live in.
The thing I would say, though, I do have a feeling, maybe I'm just misreading the situation, but it does feel like the meta has switched away from DPS very slowly over the past few months. Yeah. And it was just sort of a breaking point where at some point people realized, guys, maybe we can just do damage instead of going, more tanks and more support all the time. And it feels like it's coming back to something that is more, I don't know, makes more sense in this kind of game. Like just do so much damage that there's no way you can heal through that. And I wonder how much of it is just people not trying to break the meta until actually someone just tries it and realizes, hey, it works.
That happens a lot in professional games, right? You get these teams are scrimming against each other, and they kind of get in their own little competitive bubble, and that's I think part of the. I mean, a lot of times too, it's just that this is the best thing to do, and it's the most powerful, and that's what you should be doing. But it is definitely a part of that is these teams are all talking to each other. They're scrimming against each other, and they all kind of land on the same thing. And until they, a lot of times it takes like a pocket strat or something to really shake things up.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that too is that not every team is equipped to do every different type of strategy. So it just turns out that Fnatic has the ability for Zebasai to go to a Widowmaker and be an extremely good Widowmaker too. He's usually the flex position. So you have to have that ability as a team, where a lot of teams literally, they'll be sensational. Like we saw it with like Team Complexity, for instance, right? Like there was a while where they were just destroying, and then all of a sudden there was a nerf that switched the meta, and then they haven't really been at the level of which they were before. We saw with Lunatic High, even just with this patch, they were destroying. They were definitely right up there with Rogue. Pre-rollout of the Sombra patch, or just in all those balance changes, and then now they don't look nearly this. They don't look like the same team that they were before. So you have to have that kind of flexibility within your roster itself too, to be able to pull out counter strategies to other folks. But yeah, to your point, Patrick, dealing damage it's kind of traditionally how we've solved things like 3-tank, right? When Nip first broke out 3-tank, like early summer around there, the way they countered it was the Ana Reaper, the Beyblade type of strategy, and that was the way to destroy it. And so I think we're seeing that cyclical effect again. I mean, some people are doing Ana Genji, Dragon Blade now again, where Genji is, in a lot of ways, you could just say Genji and his poking ability is completely negated by just all of these big tanks, and D.Va especially. But now people are like, oh, Dragon Blade Ana boosted, you can't do anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much hit points you have. I'm just gonna kill you. Just with like 2 or 3 swings. So they're trying to definitely. It's good to see that it is counterable. Otherwise, it would be kind of boring just seeing a crazy sustain meta all the time. Like 3 tanks, 2. Yeah. I mean, 3 tanks and 3 support would be, I don't know, or 4 tanks and 2 support. I don't think is the most exciting thing in the world. So it's good. It's good that the game has that ability. Or at least it's balanced that way. Yeah, exactly. And then lastly, guys, just Winter Premiere. This an NA only tournament for $100,000 was announced this past week too. It's run by this group called. It's a brand new esport group called. Let me see, NRE, I believe it, or NGE, Next Generation Esports. And apparently they're, from what I've heard, they're pretty well funded, and they're literally trying to become an event organizer in the space, at least in the Overwatch space. And this is like their first go at it, with doing it in a studio and NA only. $100,000 is a lot. I mean, it's as much as the NLG is that's coming up here in Vegas too. So yeah, it's good to see. Like there was a while where we had no NA tournaments, and all of a sudden now we've got like 2 in 1 month, which is definitely great for NA and just a lot of the teams that are here.
It's going to be a good winter for Overwatch. I mean, I think we mentioned this last time. Yeah. It's like, God, do you guys remember when winter was just dead for esports? It's not the case
there's
anymore.
No such thing anymore. I know.
Yeah, it's just
there's no such thing as off season, which I actually don't like that fact. Whenever the league does pop up, I hope that whenever there is an off season, because there, from what I heard from like just folks, at least generally from Blizzard or whatnot, is that there will be like a 2-month off season or whatnot. At least that's what the plan will probably be in the end. I don't know. I think the off season is necessary, for fans and folks to kind of miss it. It's kind of like when football season or basketball season or whatnot, that ends for a while, and you get a chance to have a break from it. So whenever it does start up again, you're just like totally hyped and excited again that the season started. I feel like with esports, we're missing that a lot of times. Like it just happens 12 months out of the year. So I don't know. At some point I get a little bit, I don't know, I just feel like there's like a bit of oversaturation, at least from my standpoint. I had to take my own break from the thing versus it actually being built into the esports structure itself.
Well, shall we wrap it up with a few emails?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. We haven't taken them in a while, and so want to remind you folks, if you want to email the podcast, you can do so at mailoverwatchers@gmail.com. That's MAIL, a parcel, not the gender. Go over there and write us an email. Our first one comes to us from Chris, and he just said, this was just heartwarming. I had to share it. He said, "Hi all, I thought you might appreciate this story as it ties into the Pixar level feels from the Overwatch shorts. My 4-year-old loves Blizzard games from Heroes of the Storm. He loves Murky. He has his own Murloc teddy that he takes to bed, and a small knitted one he thinks is March of the Murlocs. That's adorable. Where do I get these?" He also said to World of Warcraft, which he calls his panda game because I let him run around as a baby panda using the bamboozled pickup from the baby panda in Orgrimmar and Stormwind. Also adorable. But he also loves Overwatch, and although he's never seen me play it or played it himself, he will happily watch Overwatch eSports with me, and he absolutely adores the shorts. He loves Tracer and Winston. He has the Winston plush and loved all the shorts. The best in shirt translated extremely well to a 4-year-old with him asking at points, "Why is he sad?" Oh,
Aww.
Short, not shirt. Okay, gotcha. That's so heartwarming. He said, "So I showed him the recent Sombra short, and she's now a favorite beside Tracer and Winston. He also likes Widow and Reaper, who he calls the bad guys. When I was putting him to bed the other night, he was constantly booping on our noses."
Oh, wow.
So the shorts
That's
also
awesome.
appeal to the Pixar level audience. Cheers, Chris, aka Spiky Chris. I would argue that a Pixar level audience is anyone at any age, but sure.
I can so imagine a kid going boop after having seen this. Oh, by the way, someone tweeted this at me from Reddit. Basically, do you remember Sombra showing a picture of Volskaya's daughter to her? Mm-hmm. Apparently, there's another one on her desk that you see for a fleeting second, where the president Volskaya is booping her daughter's nose. So apparently that's where it comes from. Oh my God, this is so incredible. Anyway,
that's a huge invasion of privacy. That's a creepy level of invasion. That once I saw that,
she's Sombra. She's the lead hacker.
Well, exactly. yes, but I had to holy crap, that's awesome that was hidden just in the short itself. But B, that brings Sombra to a level of creepy that I just doesn't come across unless you notice that.
Yeah, I mean, she saw the picture on the desk, and then she did it to the. It does feel the boop is a lot more creepy in that context. It's like, I'm actually threatening your daughter at the same time or something. It's weird. Anyway,
it's just like boop. I know everything about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, horrifying. Patrick, you want to take the next email?
Sure. Dave writes, "What would you guys think of a payload mode where the payload starts in the middle of the map and each team tries to push it to their spawn? Maybe it would require one player to actively push instead of fight, but the cart can't be stopped by contesting." That's an interesting idea. I mean, so you have to be able to contest.
It's tug of war.
It's push of war, sir. It's push of war.
Yeah, push of war. My bad. Push of war.
The one drawback I could see it can be solved would be if it can go for too long, but you can have a timer and then you see who pushed it, on which side it is. I do worry that. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it would be one central point for the entire thing, which I guess is the same thing for payload anyway. I'm not sure what to think of this. It's an interesting idea, but I don't know if I like it or if I could imagine issues with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to come up with some mechanic where it can't be contested, because otherwise, oh my God, this game would just go on indefinitely.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two extreme concerns, I think, with I mean, they're not extreme, but I'm just like there's two very different concerns when you're looking at tug of war, because it's actually a game mode that I was really hoping to see, definitely early on, or at least if they were to add a new game point. And this is like before, the King of the Hill maps and whatnot. The biggest thing I think is that it goes on too long, and you can put a timer to that, but if you put a timer onto that, how do you make it feel epic, whenever that happens, and secondly too is that, do you push it all the way to the points, or do you push it to these intermediate points, that are just these arbitrary endpoints for the actual tug of war? And if you do that, then you have to figure out, when there's team wipes, you don't want it to be over, after just a single engagement, that sort of thing. You have to at least have multiple, huge team fights. And, so you have to do that. If you have to push it all the way to the point, then it's like the map has to be kind of smaller, right? It can't be as big as it is right now. So there's a lot of elements to it that I think that you'd have to have like very well thought out and tweaked extremely well for it to have that excitement that we do see in some of these maps already, as well as just have it, just not feel like it's a coin flip in some ways, like whoever wins that first engagement. So, but generally speaking, I think it's a good. I think generally it's a good design. I like that kind of game format, and with the payload, it's already we would all understand it very easily.
Yeah, I mean, I would want a new game mode that would actually be different from everything we've had until now. If we were to get a new game mode, I'd rather get something really different. Which, by the way, I wouldn't mind getting, as the next big update. Obviously, we always want new characters, but a completely new game mode wouldn't be a bad thing. I think one game mode a year would be more enjoyable than a new map like Oasis. So
yeah, I'd really like to see like in a more objective based map, a la Heroes of the Storm, something that's a little more cinematic.
Winning without killing everybody kind of thing. Yeah.
You have to go do stuff in the map and then to create to trigger an event and then it creates something.
Yeah, what's really cool about Valskaya? There's giant robots running around in the background. What if that was part of the map in a way? Like maybe if one team did something, a giant robot fought for them, something like that. I mean, that's something we see in every battleground in Heroes of the Storm. It's kind of the whole sales pitch of the game to set it apart from other MOBAs. I mean, Overwatch is just oozing with all this lore potential and these kind of Avenger-like moments where you all come together with your special abilities to do something awesome. And I'd love to see, I don't know, like Icon Vault, the payload being a battering ram that breaks open a door. That's like the closest we've come, I think, to kind of this cool bombastic event within a multiplayer map. And I'd like to see that cranked up.
I think that example of a robot coming down would be really hard because the game is balanced, right, for it to be 6v6. So you throw down a giant juggernaut or something down, that then it's just like, how does that other team win? But it would be cool if there were different points that you have to take, like somewhat like Heroes of the Storm, and so that there are different focal points, not just like a double capture point type of thing, but there are different focal points where if you hold, you get, I don't know, points. You get like a build up, like a percentage build up on each of the points or something like that.
You're just describing Wrathy Basin from World of Warcraft.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Which actually something with a multi-point objective would be cool too. So you split the teams and you no longer have this 6v6 death ball going on.
Yeah. I agree. I do get some, stressful anxiety, Call of Duty or Destiny panic attacks when you mention things like this. But I mean, yes, they could do this. It's a relatively classic team game mode. What I would really love to see is something a little bit different and a little bit more original that is tailored to Overwatch. I mean, us as gamers and players and not brilliant game designers from Blizzard, we look at this and we're thinking, they could create that thing that I'm familiar with. And I'm sure it could be fun enough. I would love them to do things that we don't expect as well. So
yeah, it'd be kind of cool to have something that you're like, one team is, if they're defending something from being destroyed or something. Like, I don't know, maybe it's like Eichenwald's door, or I don't know what it is, but something that just can't be spammed from afar either. But that could be cool too.
The Halloween event thing, except it's 4v4 and you have to destroy the door and the others. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be kind of cool.
Something like that. Yeah. There's ways for this to go. I just I don't know. I can Vault's so damn cool, and I would just like I would like a little more theater in my Overwatch games, I guess. Instead of just
12v12. Go and kill everyone. That would be insane.
Yeah, something besides escort the slow-moving taxi.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, thanks for writing in, everyone. Again, you can send your emails to mailoverwatchers@gmail.com. That's going to do it for this episode. Huge thanks again to our patrons who are supporting us over at patreon.com/Overwatchers. You can follow the show on Twitter @OverwatchCast. And don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes and anywhere else you can find podcasts, or on youtube.com/AMoveTV. And if you are subscribed over on iTunes and you like the show, we would love it if you dropped us a 5-star review and told us why you like the show. And on this episode, thank you to Yeti Fox, Matt Cameron, and Gemini RSC, who said, insightful, funny, chill. I don't get called chill very often. So
am I insightful or funny? That's our Seven Dwarfs names.
I wasn't assigning each one to one of us specifically.
We're saying we were all three of us were all three.
I think so. I think so.
That's more flattering, but I think the funnier version might be better, where each one of us is one of the three. Which one would you guys be?
I'm definitely not insightful. Because I'm just like, it's pretty.
I'm not
pretty,
the funniest
guys.
out of the three of us, that's for sure. So I don't think I'm funny.
Okay.
It'd be chiller inside.
Do you know what? It's fine. I'll take all three. You guys can just be yourself.
We're the leftovers.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Patrick is the talent, and Chris and I are something.
Support is important. You know, it is. The Overwatch team needs.
We are the Reinhardts to your Bastion, Patrick. we are the Reinhardts to Patrick's Bastion. We just stand still so that you may shine.
You know what? Bastion is insightful, funny, and the other thing as well. So there you go.
That's sure it's chill. Ganymede's chill. I'm not sure Bastion is.
I thought it was chill.
Right.
Yeah. He sometimes goes and does that little titter with his arm when you say hello. So that's kind of chill, I think.
And other times he destroys an entire square 3 miles of forest.
Yeah, that's true. That's not so chill. Well, maybe not Bastion then.
Zero chill, Bastion. Zero chill. Well, hope you enjoyed this episode, everyone. Patrick, when you're not doing this particular podcast, where can folks find your other many different varied podcasts?
Well, you know what? There's one that talks about politics, if you can imagine, but it's insightful, funny, and chill. So there you go. Right there, that's the show you want to listen to. It's called The Phileas Club. Another one is a general gaming show where we talk about, industry trends, the latest games, and give our impressions and try to give you one show to know everything important that's been happening in gaming. So if you just want one-stop shop, you should go listen to Pixels. And both of those are available at FrenchSpin.com, which is my main website. FrenchSpin.com is where you want to go. And then Not Patrick on Twitter and Facebook.
I've been on that show before. It's fun.
You have? Thank you. And it's fun. Is it chill and insightful?
It's pretty chill.
Cool.
I'd say it's pretty chill. It's a chill show. It's fun.
2 out of 3. I'll take that. Thank you.
Chanman, where can folks find your work around the web?
You can find me on either Twitch or YouTube, and both of them ending in ChanmanV. And today, actually, I've got a couple other shows I do too. The one that's going to be happening later on today, which is my Hearthstone one called Value Town. Be talking about the last giant batch of cards before the huge expansion tomorrow. So if you guys want to check that out, we've got Noxious, Dan Zimborski, ESPN writer, and TJ Sanders. So it should be some fun reviews today. Some different non-pro looks at the cards today. So it should be a good time. Also, I've got a show that I've been doing with Elohim and Eat My Addiction for a while now that's called Spoiler Alert, and we've been talking about Black Mirror recently, the season 3. So if you guys are into that series, we do different things every episode. So we either we do a movie or a TV show or anime or a comic. So this week just happens to be Black Mirror. So if you can check that out, probably that's going to be on one of their channels. So you can see that later on this week. But yeah, other than that, you can check out just all the show posts. I mean, I definitely show all the different topics and stuff we do for the shows on ChanmanV.tv.
Everyone should go check that out. And you can find me on Twitter at GarrettArt, and everything I do is at amu.tv. Check out For Azeroth. Joss and I talking WoW, and a lot of lore over there. If you enjoy yourself some Warcraft lore, check that out as well. Again, that's going to do it for this show. Until next time, good luck, have fun, and watch out for Symmetra.
Bye.